However, what we are, I mean, we will be doing some videos, Sunita, shortly. We can share that with all of you, put it in YouTube as well. Some of these elements that you saw,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we can possibly look at some sessions in the future as well, where we can deep dive. So some of these things, I'll take a step back and say, personally, for me, every time I run a workshop for anybody, corporate or any of the type of people, there is always something new I find out about myself as well.
Yeah.
So there is always something that we can unearth. So that is also a possibility. We could look at a typical workshop format as well. We can go through that.
And when you have all these design workshops, how can we keep updated on the dates? And if you want to attend any forum that we can follow to
Okay, so we have, you would have seen our website. It's d-thinking.com. The portal has all the details in terms of where we focus and all that. We are also coming up with open programs in January, February timeframe. That will be now in Chennai, but move into other locations as well. Yes.
Sorry, I got disconnected in between. So back again. Any other question that you have? Anybody? So Dr. Anbu, thank you so much for such an interesting webinar and interesting concept. I have a question from my end.
Okay.
Can you give me an example where in the coaching conversation, you have used a design thinking approach, which has been a little different than the routine coaching approach that we use. And that has really brought about a change, an impact, or different kind of a result. Is there some kind of an example that you can speak?
Okay. In a recent one, if I have to recollect, one of the recent one is where there was a 360-degree feedback that obviously was showing a lot of great things about the leader, right? Which is great, which is about his positives, right? Which is appreciation. But when I was trying to connect, like I was sharing earlier, this was about the tasky versus maintenance model. If you take is the person a very tasky person or a maintenance person?
Mm-hmm.
Right? When we were going through some of the 360 feedback across different sections, be it leadership to innovation to team motivation to developing others to, we all have different categories of 360 there, right? The elements that connected between some of these things, right, which showed a conflict in the head of the leader, right? Though some of the positives were there that he was doing great. Over a period of this, it was a 2 or 3 different session coaching before we unearthed when it comes to developing others, right? Though some of them were saying he's helping and all of that, the coach was not willing to let any of the team members, the coachee rather was not willing to let any of the team members to be better than who he is, right? This came out of connecting the different dots from taking parameters. If there are, let's say, about 80 different questions have been answered on 360, taking about 5, 6 and do, and then let the person ponder over some of the decaf elements, right? And the person went on a reflection to say, yes, there is a fear if someone is better than me that I will be replaced by my boss. Yes, I accept. And of course, it was kind of bit of an emotional situation for him. Yes, I accept that. I consciously, when there is a better idea that comes in, I stop it. But the beauty was he stopped it in such a way that it never looked very negative. Right? He stopped it in such a way that they were told that this idea will never fly for such and such a reason. And therefore, the growth of the team member itself was stopping. So that's one thing that I could quickly think of that had happened, where we were able to identify the conflict in the head of the coachee and the fear that the coachee had.
Okay, thank you so much. Anybody else? Any other question? Yes, Malaka. You'll have to unmute yourself.
I just wanted a little more understanding on that last 2% equals 200%. I know we are at the end of time, but if there's a short answer.
Okay. See, let's say you are doing something, or if I can give an example of Ritz-Carlton, okay? When you go and stay in Ritz-Carlton, let's say you go to Singapore and stay in Ritz-Carlton. You are checking in at 9:30 in the night. You finished your dinner. You go, that day you had a little bit of a stiff neck. You go into your room, you realize that the pillows are all soft. You want a hard pillow. You call and say, I need a hard pillow. They send a hot pillow. Then you feel that I'm too tired. I can't sleep. I need to have a hot chocolate. You order a hot chocolate. 6 months later, you go to, this is in Singapore. And if you go to London and stay in a Ritz-Carlton, you check in. After you check in, there is a call that comes in saying that, ma'am, we have left your hot pillow on the side in case you want to use it. And should you require your favorite hot chocolate, let us know. We can deliver it in 10 minutes time. That was not a stated requirement for you, from you. But to us, that is the last 2% that differentiates. And I don't even think twice to go to a Ritz-Carlton versus the any other hotel. Right? And in a project management parlance, it's also could be related to as gold plating, something that the customer didn't ask, but I provide that experience to the customer at the last 2%. Right? I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I'm just looking at it from the leadership perspective, that how would a leader display that? In a hotel, it's a hospitality, it is expected.
Correct.
But in a leadership role, how would that work?
Okay. The leadership role, I'll give you a couple of examples. One is, we all know, okay, we have to take care of the team members as a leader. We should be not get too much into their personal thing. But how do you as a leader show that you do care about them beyond their delivery capabilities and beyond their deadlines and commitment and KRAs and all, right? So there is this one leader in our organization that I always observed. He worked out of our Hyderabad location. I always, whenever I travel to Hyderabad, I make it a point to have lunch with him because I keep learning several things. One of the things he has always done was at the lunch, he will always go to the cafeteria to have lunch, not in his office. Inevitably, there will always be something. He'll call and say, hey, Ramesh, what happened? How are you now? 6 months back, you had a little bit of a fracture and went through therapy. How is it now? Right? And that, the kid's emotions skyrockets. It's like a leader of the center remembers me. Right? Or suddenly he'll pop up and say, hey, what happened to that visa trouble your sister had? You were really perturbed about it last month. What happened now? So this does not come under a regular leadership requirement or a textbook thing, or even anywhere it gets defined saying that as a leader you need to do. But for him, he says that I respect them, and this is the way I wanted to show that I respect them as a human being. Right? That is one. The other one, that's something that I personally follow, is in terms of appreciation. So somebody does a great work in my team. Right? Yeah, you do a mail, you send a mail, or you forward the mail that your boss sends you, say, appreciating the work, you send it to the person. All that is happening. But I always feel the way, there are several ways to appreciate. So when I walk in the next day, in front of everybody, I'll say, hey, you know what? That work that you did, I sent it to the chairman. He loved it. Great work. Keep it up. Walk. I think that just lifts the spirit of the person and forever, right? Because it is, of course, it has to be genuine, but that I feel all of these becomes that last 2% rather than just thanking them and go, you know, from a leadership point of view.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much, Dr. Anbu, for such a lovely session. Very insightful and a very different concept, which quite a lot of us are not really exposed to. We've been hearing about design thinking, but not really, we don't know. And again, for the participants, this is like, it's a huge specialization in itself. So objective is just to bring the concept to you, to have a flavor of the concept, and then each one of you is free to deep dive into it as and when you want. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for joining in this session. Have a great evening, all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Pleasure.
And thank you, Ramki, as well, for being over there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you, Doc. Thank you. Absolute pleasure. Thank you.